And folks, we are live today. Folks, we are live. And this is Love the Afrobeat Music Talk Radio, your number one African Caribbean online radio. We are back at it again today, folks. And today we have a very special show for you. We've been going through having conversations with artists. And this time around, we are going to go behind the scenes to see how others also take part in making sure that our music industry is up and running. And folks, this is HWY to Africa coming your way from Love the Afrobeat Music Talk Radio here in Toronto, Ontario, Canada. And with me is Ron Mollinga. Hi, Ron. How you doing?
Hey, TyB, how are you? I'm doing fine. Here on the west coast of Canada, we have had some pretty interesting weather. Last night, it was blowing at about 100, 110 kilometers an hour. I was waiting for the power to go out at any moment, but we were fortunate not to have that. And today, it's just a little wet. So I have no complaints. I already went for a walk this morning. So, hey, I have no complaints. Everything's going well. Just before it came on the air, I was just working on a song, and I was like going, "Oh, this isn't working. This isn't working. This isn't working." But it'll all come together. So far, great.
So far, you've been writing. You've been writing, and enjoying the weather as well. Over here, it was a little bit chilly yesterday, and this morning it was a little bit chilly, and it was damp, and it was gloomy. And right now the sun is shining down on us, and taking some peak here and there. And it's a beautiful weather, but we're still at plus 11 degrees, which is not a little bit high there. We were expecting more because yesterday it was close to about 20 something. See, this is what takes toll on our bodies, because it's the weather doesn't stay stable, and that's what everybody will tell you. Oh, if you start talking about the weather or speaking about the weather, people will just look at you and say, "Are you from Canada?" Yes, we are from Canada. In Canada, we always talk about the weather. The first thing that somebody will say, hi, Ron, how you doing? And the second thing will be, how's the weather? So I'm with you on that. Yes.
Either that or we'll say we're sorry.
That's right. So how has the week been, in terms of, because I have been following you, Ron, honestly, before we get our special guest as Ezekiel Gosan Turbe, who's the CEO of WorldLink Promotions. He has handled a lot of artists. Actually, it was through him that we got the superstar Richard Stevens out of Jamaica and other stars. So, we want to be able to sit down with him once again and speak with him for him to let us know what makes him who he is for the work that he's been putting into our industry. So, we are waiting for him. He's all the way in Nigeria. And, folks, technology sometimes hits us left and right and center. But hey, we are here. But in the absence of that, we have lots to talk about, as we do almost every.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, Ron, the floor is yours.
Well, I'm interested in talking to our guest today. I don't know, I know we talked to somebody from Canada that did something very similar. This was probably about 6-8 months ago. And it was a different, either that he's from the United States, somewhere in North America anyways. And he seemed to be doing really well, and he's a young guy. So it was interesting to chat with him to see his perspective on how things are going. And as it will be today with Ezekiel, it will be interesting to talk to him to see how, the music industry is, especially those of us who are indie artists, and those of us who are, I'll say, on our own more so than people that are signed with big labels. So a fellow like Ezekiel will be somebody who would be good to chat with, because it would be nice to see how he's promoting and how the methods he goes about getting artists out there and into the public eye so that they're noticed, which is a very tricky thing to do. So it'll be interesting to see what he has to say about this and how he's doing that and how he's making some people successful. And whether he's accessible to the, you know, the lowliners, or I'll say not the lowliners, poor way of putting it. I would say the people who are just starting out. So and you know, his costs. I'm interested in knowing his costs today to see, because it would be interesting. You know, does he charge more per artist, or is it based on one lump sum for everyone? Those are some of the questions that I think I'll be interested in knowing. So,
yeah, I follow what you're saying. Is sometimes, when we go out there to either perform or appear on radio stations or TV stations, or in short, in media, we don't know the people behind it. People who do work behind it. So there's a lot of questions as to how they're able to get artists that they want or they are interested in. The whole thing is that yet maybe it's there, maybe it's there. I may stand corrected. There are other publishers, promoters, and out there who nurture, who see artists right from their infancy. Say, I'm going to follow this guy. I'm going to develop that person from A to Z. Do you think we have some things like that in our world that we live in right now?
I don't know. You could ask Celine Dion about that. Her husband took her from about the age of, I think, 14 or something, and brought her right up into the big leagues. And you know how well Celine Dion has done in the entertainment world. So, I mean, yes, it happens. And there are, every big name that's out there has somebody who's promoting them and getting all of the contracts signed and everything of the such. Which, you know, like for instance, as an example, there's a fellow here named Bruce Allen, who's on the West Coast, who does a lot of managing for big names like the Michael Bublé's and the likes like that. I think he's even with Celine Dion as well. I know now that her husband's passed. So I just know that, and he's one of those guys that has been very successful over the years, but however, I know he's very tough as well, and which you'd have to be, because you're not going to put up with garbage from people who are trying to get the artists in there. You have to have how should we say, a little bit of coldness to you, I would think. But all the interviews I've seen with him, Bruce, he seems like a reasonable guy. So there are people that, yes, every big artist name out there has to be signed, has to have a manager or somebody that's doing all of the work behind the scenes. Like for instance, Instagram, I can't imagine one artist after your whatever famous means, looking after all of your social media, like your Instagram, your Facebook, looking after your website, looking after all your emails. There are people that deal with that. That you have to get doing that, because otherwise you won't be doing anything other than being on social media or sitting behind a computer all day long and forget the art of music. So they are very important people. Yeah, you know, I was on one time, I think the call-up list for a fellow named Kenny Loggins, and I had to go through his agent, one of his agents, and then through the manager. So it's one of those things where they're very valuable people and they earn their pay. So, yeah.
I mean, you see, our industry is very complicated. See, if you're not within the industry, you might think, oh, everything is hunky-dory, and like you see people just walking out, oh, I'm going to play this gig. Everything, even if you're playing a little gig here or somewhere, in a small corner, the preparations towards it and all these kind of stuff, sometimes it becomes a headache. Sometimes even one thing that I hate as an artist is going to perform, and during the sound check, people are just not taking it so seriously. I hate sound checks, but you need it. to do that.
Oh yeah.
And you need somebody who has the wherewithal to be able to put their feet on, because some artists are very, very arrogant. Sometimes I've worked with so many of them that sometimes you feel like, you know what, I ain't gonna deal with this person anymore. I'm not gonna do that anymore. But then they need somebody to put the whole thing together. If it's if it's a band, or if you are a soloist, all in all, you get somebody around to put things together. And then these are some of the promoters and all these guys behind the scenes. But all the same, we are in an industry. I love this industry, honestly speaking, because we don't retire.
I know.
We don't retire as musicians.
No, certainly not.
Yes. Yeah. Whilst we're waiting for Ezekiel, Ron, let me ask you something. We've spoken about this before. About, I got your music. Is that as a matter of fact, it was the music that I used, or the station used to promote the show today.
Oh, is that right? Okay.
Right. It was a very beautiful. Is it all? I've actually, I got it on Spotify. Very great music.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
All that I'm saying is, how is it going with you in terms of your independence, in terms of how you're writing the music and all those kinds of stuff? How is it going? Because I've never seen that. I was thinking that, Ron, you were doing it. You were just doing it. But now I've seen how you are promoting. You have done the music and you have put it out there, and it's doing so good. So somewhere down the line, I always say that sometimes you don't need the big boys to do what you have to do. I've said it here over and over again. The floor is your space.
I would think, for me personally, it's nice that I don't need the money. So I think that I don't do it for the money. If I did, then it would be a lot more hardcore in terms of being worried about who's going to look after everything. And I don't have to, which is nice, because I'm not doing it for that way reason. I do it for the love of it, the enjoyment, because if I didn't enjoy it, I just wouldn't do it. So it's interesting working with people, and you see who they've got all with them. They've got a team of people. Well, I don't have a team of people to write songs. I don't need a team of people. I'd rather not have a team in many respects, just because it's easier not to work with many people at once on a song. However, there's groups where I'm in and you have to work like a team. That's a different story. But as a songwriter, I do it all myself, because all the instruments that I need, I can play. So yesterday I was doing a bunch of recording on the piano, for instance, in the song I'm working on. And it was just, I know what I wanted for a sound. I knew what I wanted to go in there. So I don't need anybody else per se. I would love to be able to work with singers. So if you're a singer out there and you really would like to learn some, or have some access to better music, or just music in general, then I would love to be in contact with people like that, because all the songs I write, generally, not always, though, are set up to be worked with somebody who is a singer. The one that you recently got was an instrumental. I just decided the guitar was going to be the mainstay of the show in it, and that's what I put into it. So I would say I don't need the people, because I can do all the instruments myself. The drums, everything. I mean, I've played with so many great drummers out there. I wish I could play like them, but I can do the drum parts. I can do the bass parts. The bass parts are the simplest part for me. I can do all the keyboards, the guitar parts. Everything can be done. Do I use samples? Sure. I would say that anyone out in the industry right now is using samples, uses samples. Do I use Splice? Yes, occasionally. Sometimes I don't like it. Sometimes I do. And so I would say that it's just, for me, it's as an individual, I can handle it myself. But I'd rather be working with some really good singers, as opposed to doing, because I am not a singer. That is the one thing I am not really good at. And I will be the first to admit it. My wife will be the second one to admit it. However, I've had to sing in many situations and I can pull it, but I'm not a pro. For instance, a high-end singer that, like a PETRAA, for instance, I'm definitely not even in the same league as she is. But that's the way things have been. I mean, I know what's in tune and what's out of tune, but I'll tell you, for me personally, I'd rather be working with singers. And our guest last week, she and I are in contact with each other, and she wants me to listen to some of her songs, and we're talking about possibly doing some work together, and that may or may not succumb to anything, but I'm not worried about it. If it happens, it happens. If it doesn't, I'm not in a hurry for all this. That's just how I work, and it's so nice being that it's because I have been in the situation where money was the reason you were doing the gigs and the performances or whatever it was. I've been in that too, and I can't say I enjoyed it as much as I do now. I do it because I can, and that's the fun part about it. If I want to write a song that day, I will. If I don't, I'll go do something else. But it's generally speaking, I'm at probably in my room, like my studio, 3 to 8 hours a day, just either writing songs or doing as a copyist or engraver, as they call them, sheet music for companies. So it's one or the other. So a long answer to a short question. However, it's nice to be able to not have to be relying on anybody. But at the same time, as I've mentioned already, it would be nice to work with other artists, singers in particular, that are serious about wanting to go a little bit further than they are. I find in Afrobeat there's a lot of things that people are missing, and I wish they would learn a bit more about songwriting to get the idea of what's going on. I could call you about it's called the tri-loop trick. And that is if you don't have that in their songs, it's just your song's not going to sell.
Yeah, just to piggyback on what you're saying, you got to be a songwriter. Some people just come out and then that doesn't make you a songwriter. If you come out something, scribble something. Songwriters do songs, and there's a stock exchange there, music stock exchange there, where artists and artist managers go pick up songs for their artists. And in terms of what you are doing, what is so intriguing is the fact that you did it. You see, I'm bringing this up for listeners and viewers to acknowledge the fact that in this world that we live in, as opposed to back then, you can do things for yourself as an artist. Don't sit down and say that, you know what, I'm going to sign a recording deal with. If you do that, you are not going to go anywhere, because Ron, like so many other people, you've done it. And when you started posting those songs, I said, what is Ron all about? And I sat back and I said to myself, my God, listening to the songs, so good. And to even see that some of them, the songs have made it onto Afro charts. Spotify is playing Spotify.
Yeah.
It tells me that, what would you tell people, artists out there or songwriters out there who are doing it on their own, independent artists out there, what they need to do to step up?
Yeah, it depends on where you want to be in songwriting. I would say that, as we've heard many guests, myself included, say that, if you're going to be a songwriter, you really are best to be a person who plays an instrument. It really helps to understand. For instance, when I see something like see a sample or a splice, and I see it in D sharp minor, I look at that and I kind of go, D sharp minor is not a key. That should be E flat, and E flat has 3 flats. D sharp minor, or D sharp, the key of D sharp. I look at that D sharp in particular. I just look at it and I go, are you kidding? D sharp. That has 7 sharps. E flat works better. That has 3 flats. It's easy. It's EF. I can go E flat, F, G, G flat, A flat, B flat, C, and D. It's really simple stuff. However, and it really helps to know your theory. I can't say that enough. I've said it many times. I almost sound redundant to some people, and I hear so many people say they wish they had theory. Well, I would say our best producers in the world are really good at doing this. Can they read music? Yes, they can. David Foster reads it. I know Don Carroll. There's so many out there. Quincy Jones reads music, because if they get a whole score in front of them of, saying, here's the orchestra coming in today to record this song, and here's the conductor's score, you better be able to follow along with that. But maybe that's not where you want to be. Maybe you want to be a soloist. And if you want to be a soloist, that works too. But I would say that if you're going to take your songs and just put them together with samples, I'm sorry to say, they just aren't going to work as well as people who start, like I start mine from point A, and I have a format. I have usually some kind of format that I'm going to follow, a very particular one. And they have to follow this sort. There's a format that works for singing, for instance, for singers. It just has to, because if you don't follow this somewhat, format, songs can be as long or as short as you want, but there is a format to them. And if you're not clear about these things, it's really going to be hard to be a good singer. I heard somebody just yesterday, I heard an Afrobeat singer, and I heard this catchy little riff that he sung. And I thought, good, cool. I like this part. And I'm waiting for him to sing it again. He never came back around to it. I thought, wow, that was the catch, man. I thought that was the catch of the song. And I kept listening to the song, and a minute, 2 minutes later, he still hadn't sung it again. And I'm thinking, whoa, that's not going to catch my attention. Well, how are you people going to remember your song? So there is very, very good format. If you're interested in this, go listen to Martin Sutton. Martin Sutton works for a huge company that writes songs for the likes of Beyonce and Adele, and they have made over $500 million. That's a billion with a B. I sound like one of the producers that says the same thing about him. They've made hit after hit after hit after hit, and he does some really good talks on what it takes to put together good songs, and he's spot on. He lays it all out, and he just says, these are the things that help. And if you don't do these, they're going to be in a tough spot. So the more education, I guess, all I can say on this, the more education you have, the better off you're going to be. That's easy as pie. That's the best way to put it.
Yeah. I brought that into the conversation because I'm so amazed, because I'm looking at it from the angle that we are still treading into uncharted waters. Because like in the industry right now, I don't know how the industry is going to handle it, where a lot of artists are going independent and using the same medium to promote it, to promote the product, right? But at the same time, if you come to look at it, let's go back a little bit. My understanding is that airplay plays a part where it comes to awards and stuff like that, airplay. But the whole thing is that I think now social media has come in there, where one can just go out there and promote their music. Go out there and promote, as opposed to the big boys giving you money, going to the studio, putting everything behind you, pushing you out there. You do it. Sometimes if you're lucky and you are a constant, hit maker, you're good.
Yeah.
And where you are even not a constant hit maker, it gets to a point where the big boys will say, I've seen TyB over there, he's doing good, so let me go get him. And they bench you. Right? So now, if you are doing it on your own, using the social media, as we are using it, as so many people, including the radio station, using it, then it tells me that the future of the industry is going to be a little bit bleak, even let's factor in AI.
Yeah. I think that when it comes to people like me, I'm not worried about whether I make it to whatever success is in terms of being wealthy. To me, that's not what success is. So if it's for the money purpose of it, yes, everybody needs money to live. However, if that's your one goal in music, I think you'll miss the point. However, with social media, I think there's so many people I follow on social media and Instagram, and I see posts every day, and I see people, I'm not sure if it's music they're promoting or what they're promoting, but they're just getting their name on there almost every day, 3 posts a day or something like that. So I'm thinking that must be taking up a lot of your time, unless you've got somebody that's taking all these photos for you and showing something new from you. It's like TikTok, the same thing, every day, every day, every day. So I don't know if social media is the best, but I tell you, somebody made a good point to me, or made not even a good point, just to ask, do you think it's better to put singles or albums out? And I thought this is a really good question, because singles, yes, singles will last you a certain period of time, but you're not going to get anybody really interviewing you to a large extent unless you have albums. Like if you want to be in the big leagues, you better be putting out albums, because that's what they're looking for. They want to know that you can do just more than a song or 2 or 3. Because if you just have a song or 2 or 3, you aren't going to get much from that, other than, yes, you get noticed here and there for brief, like a blink of an eye. But beyond that, you better show that you can do more than just a song or 2. And that's what I was saying to one of our guests here, offline, that you really are better to do an album to show that you are capable of putting that through. Now, I don't know if that answers your question, because I know you were talking about AI.
It does. It does.
Because I know you were talking about AI as well, and that's a whole different can of worms.
Yeah, what I was trying to say is that, like, you're doing it on your own right now, and you on Afro charts, you've hit it. And what I'm trying to put on the table is that now, to the avid artists out there, music enthusiasts out there, let me address the artists themselves. You see, you don't have to sit down right now in the world that we live in right now to get somebody to promote your songs for you. Do it. Use social media to promote it. I'm not saying if you get a contract or an agreement or whatever, what have you, with one of the big boys, the labels, that's fine. That is, there's nothing wrong with it. But my experience is that sometimes you can also be self-reliant, because there are so many opportunities available to us right now as artists out there to promote, do the music, promote. You can use your cell phone to shoot a music video, and you can do that. But then, the industry is ever changing. That's one. It's continuously to change. Folks, we are in conversation among ourselves with Ron. We are expecting to get our special guest, the CEO of WordLink Promotion, Mr. Ezekiel Gosan Turbe. I just got a text from him, but he says we are experiencing nationwide power shutdown in Nigeria. Yes, so he's doing his best. There's a power shutdown where he is, and it's affected everything. So he's doing his possible best to join with us. And even if we don't get him, we'll get him back, because he's got a wealth of information. He does everything as an artist, man, as a promoter, as everything there. So we are hoping and praying that everything will be rectified, and he will be joining with us as we go along. Yes. Yeah, Ron, as I was saying, next week, for instance, we are going to be oh yes, Leonard.
Good old Leonard.
Good old Leonard.
He's such a nice guy.
Yeah, that's right. Leonard Novati is the CEO, president, founder, everything of Afro Charts.
Yeah.
So you listeners and those of you, let me address the artists out there. If you have music, any great music, of course, clean music, of course, just head on to afrocharts.com,
Mm-hmm.
afrocharts.com. Go there and see things for yourselves. This is a wealth of, that's a black man's Spotify, as I will say. I totally, he started laughing and laughing and laughing. Well, it's on a serious note, it's a very, very great source for you to
Mm-hmm.
put your music out there.
Yeah.
Yes, Burna Boy and a whole lot of big boys. Some of the big, a whole lot of the big boys are also there.
On
So
there.
we're able to
Yeah.
crack
Mm-hmm.
the listings as Ron has done. Then it means you're doing great. So we are going to have a very great conversation with Leonard Novati from afrocharts.com, one of the top streaming services that we can get as artists out there. Afrocharts.com, check him out, check him out. And Leonard is going to be with us next week. He's been with us. It will be his fourth time, I believe, that he's been here. And anytime and every time that he's been here and he's signed on any artist, the artist always come back and thank lovely HWY to Africa because they are doing some great work out there. Folks, yes, we are going to, we are surging on the journey on this trajectory. And where I am right now is to talk about the future of our industry. Honestly speaking, it's something that I always don't lose sight about. Songwriters are going to be there. How about studio technicians?
Mm.
People
How
are
about
doing, yes, go ahead.
studio? How about studio musicians? No, never mind the technicians, the musicians.
That's right. That's right. You're right. Studio technicians, you know, everybody connected with the industry. I don't know how it's going to be. What do you think?
I think that, one of the nice things I will say that's happening right now in our industry is that everybody can put a song like Afro Charts, which is really great. I love it because it's so easy to put songs on there. And I just have an MP3 or a WAV file, whatever you've done your master on, which you should probably do an MP3 and a WAV file and a FLAC file for particular for people like Spotify. However, if you've got an MP3 file and it's what you recorded, it just takes that and your bio. They want to have a bio of you, which makes sense, and a photo of you, and you just put it on, and it goes on like snappity doo. And that's the nice thing about things like AfroChart. Spotify, you're waiting. I mean, you've got to go through some different organization to get it out there. You can't just give to Spotify. You have to go through a different place like Discord or wherever you're going through. You have to go through them first to get it onto Spotify, and that guarantees that you're going to get it on all music platforms. Whereas if you're looking to get it onto AfroCharts, you just have to do that as an individual and set it up. And there have been many times that I've contacted Leonard from AfroCharts to ask him a question about this or that. And he responds. He may not be, he says he gets some, I think I told him he gets hundreds of messages a day, but he always responds. And that's the nice thing about Leonard. When I want to get him on, WhatsApp, he's just like, he's there responding. As I had a problem one time, and he was just so good about getting it solved. And it's really nice to have something like that, as opposed to Spotify, where you're kind of going, I guess it's the song's coming up and you have to promo it all over the place. This song's coming up in 2 weeks. It's 10 days. Now it's a week. Oh, and yes, folks, you have to know in 3 days, 2 days. Oh, hey, tomorrow the song comes out. Promo. Well, you don't have to do that with AfroCharts. You can just put it on there. And if it doesn't fit into their music, I'm sure I have never been declined. But all the stuff that I've been doing for them on their site is AfroChart stuff, is Afrobeat stuff. So it just fits in there. I would probably look like the odd man out, being the white guy, but I don't care. It's just, it doesn't have anything to do with that. It's just that if it's the genre, it's the genre. And there's so many different categories. There's like Afrobeats, there's Afro pop, there's Amapiano, you name it, it's all in there. And they have different categories for one. I think last week I was in 3 categories. There was Afrobeats, Best Nigerian, and then or top.
And which track
top,
was that? Which track are we talking about?
Oh, that was the one called Another Day.
Yes, that I love it.
Yeah, and that song, it was I think it was last week was number 2 on the Nigerian top 10 or top 100, and this week it's down to 4, number 4. I don't care, it's gonna eventually pull out, just like everybody. Nobody stays on top forever. So it's just, and it's on, I think it's, and then they have an overall best songs one, and I think I was on that for a week or 2 as well. So yeah, it's just, it's really, it's interesting how they've set it up. I have told Leonard that it seems like you can only say what country you're from, and all it's including right now is African countries. So, but he has said, and this is the question I would like to have with him, and that is, he's getting a new UI set up. And they're going through the testing stages, I think, right now, and having it all redone. So the app may look different. I don't know exactly how it's going to be different. And they also have added another section. I want to ask him, I think it's called Storyline. And I want to ask him about that too, because Storyline is when you can collaborate with other artists. So I can't say enough about Leonard and Afro Charts, because they really have done a good job of trying to get people out there who would virtually not stand a chance in terms of ever being heard anywhere else. And they do have listeners. I mean, 1 week I had 5,000 people listen to my song. So yeah, so I went, okay, I can deal with that. Sure, I hope you enjoy it. And so it's just, I can't push it enough. I don't want to push it so much as I can't say enough good about it, because it is a really simple place to enter your songs, add your songs. You may not do it through Discord. Discord probably doesn't add songs to places like AfriChart, but you can do it yourself, and it takes probably less than 5 minutes to put your song on. It's that simple and easy. So yeah, it's cool. I mean, it's easy. I mean, I don't know how many songs I have. Probably at least a dozen songs on there. It's with different artists.
But run your track. You said a white guy writing up. You have written the songs that you've written. You know, the reason why I'm saying this is that Another Way is a very good song because of the fusion.
Yeah.
Right. There's something about it. The guitar work, everything work. It's perfect. So it's Afro. It's Afrobeat writer.
Mm-hmm.
It's there. But I love fusion. My life writing music and performing and traveling around the globe performing. I love fusion. You cannot you cannot push me into a corner and say, "Oh, that guy is an Afrobeat musician." Oh, he's I don't like that tag.
No, I agree with you.
A free thinker, do whatever I want to do. So my greatest asset in terms of my music writing is horns arrangements and stuff like that. And even on stage, that's something I can do. I have dealt with 15 hornsmen before, right? Mm-hmm. And that's one area that I excel in. So you know what? Kudos to you for. I mean, that's what I'm saying. You've done it, and it's an inspiration to anyone out there. If you're a young musician, a songwriter, if you're doing what it takes to bring you out there, you can do it on your own. I quite remember, Ron, the very first time we communicated. I was writing about I said, singer-songwriter. He said, whoa, hold it. But a songwriter. But all in all, Another Way is a very great track.
Fusion is a good way of putting it, because I agree. I mean, I have, probably like you and so many listeners as well, I listen to so many different genres of music. And if you are wanting to do anything in music, I can't stress that enough. If you the more that you listen to, I mean, I went to school for jazz for 4 years. I mean, I love jazz. I can't name a genre that I don't like or haven't listened to. I would say the only time I'm not a fan of it is when they get vulgar or they start putting people down or whatever it is. that makes it very negative. I'm not into songs like that. I don't think there's a genre per se that's like that, but definitely songs like that. However, a genre, I can't think of one that I don't like. I mean, I love flamenco. I mean, listen to the Gypsy Kings, man. Holy cow, those guys, fabulous guitar. They just have such a great sound. It is so different from what you would think most people would listen to. No, because they go and sell out everywhere. However, it's so unique, and that's how you will develop yourself as well, to be different from everyone else. And that's what you want to be. You want to be unique in your own person, other than your voice. Your music has to say the same thing. I've said this to people before too. Your voice is one thing, and I try to ask people, what's different about your stuff other than just your voice? Because no two people sound the same. So what else is different? And I know that I could lay out for you right off the bat. I could start taking each instrument apart and telling you what I do differently than everybody else. And that's good. I'm glad I do stuff differently, and everybody else should be too. However, that's because you and I know we've talked about this many times, love different types of music. And that's what makes an artist, how do we say, span out. And I mean, I can't tell you how many times I listen to Earth, Wind and Fire. I just love them. Oh yeah, we've talked about them many times. And just groups like that, they've got some soul to them. That's what I love. I would say, if there's one thing I love, is stuff that has soul. And that makes, it makes you tap your foot, makes you move. It's just one of those things. I mean, this as well as I do. I mean, I love Sade. I mean, here's an example. Sade has such a groove to her and her band. She just, man, Paul S. Denman, who's the bass player for her, he's just got a groove to him. And she has percussionists, and man, she's a sound that's just so her and Aretha Franklin. We can go on and on. I can list off 1,000 names, but there's just so many that have that feel to them, and you just want to go, that's what I want to have. And I hope that we never ever lose that. And I think people, if you're using samples all the time, you're going to lose that soul feel. And to me, I could talk about this forever, and I don't want to talk about.
The whole thing is that we don't have those kind of people anymore. But we have young artists who are also going back in the spirit of Sankofa, going back to, retrace the path that the forerunners took. An example who we had last week in Susan August, from Ghana. This young lady has impressed and continuously impresses me, because just like I indicated, you cannot, how would I put? You cannot put her in a box and say, okay, Susan, you are playing. No, and I've been listening to her stuff, and she is good. I love jazz, and I love jazz, and I love jazz. And the trajectory, I mean, it's the industry, I would say, is ever changing. And how do we sort of take the best ones, and then the old ones that we cannot resuscitate, let it that die, and then get ourselves involved in it. Because if you, like we've been discussing this here, if I use AI to write music, it's just music. It doesn't have any soul. I want to write music that has soul.
Yes.
Right. But if you use AI, it doesn't have any soul.
I agree.
Yeah, if you're an artist out there, do it the old-fashioned way.
Yeah.
Don't let the machine control you, because you have control. You have to have the control over the machine. After all, who programmed it? It was a human being that programmed it, that brought it to life. So you have to be able to go beyond the call of duty and then do it on your own, and then you get that bottom. You feel a sense of entitlement to the fact that you did that song and then you love it. Not a machine for you. The machine doesn't have its soul. So this is where looking at it and then discussing this over the past couple of months about AI and its the effect that it's going to have and it continuously having on our industry is quite concerning. Your thoughts, please.
Yeah, I can't speak high enough to that. I want to talk about when you talk about AI or anything that is not human. The one thing I'm hearing in some styles of music is drums, for instance, that are too perfect, absolutely too perfect. And I hear this time and time again that if I put a metronome to them, they would play absolutely perfectly on the beat. And some people even quantize their parts so that they play perfect, absolutely won't skip a beat, won't be slightly ahead of the beat, won't be a slight bit behind. And that, to me, folks, is not going to be human. I saw something on the news last night, and both my wife and I commented on this, and we thought it was funny. When it comes to AI, there was a cello that was programmed in with AI to play along with an orchestra, and it showed the cello. It was a machine with these two arms that were holding the cello and playing it like a cellist would. However, and it was playing with the orchestra. It showed it playing along and I don't guess it was following the music. The one question that came to mind when I saw that was, what happens if the conductor who conducts the music and runs the whole orchestra slows the part down a bit? It says retardando, which means to slow the piece down, or it says a crescendo, which means to get louder. And the conductor is waving their arms in the air, sort of saying something to, let's get louder. We got to get more loud here. How is the machine ever going to interpret those things? Or it says accelerando, and accelerando means to speed up, and we're going to get faster. So if those markings are put into a piece of sheet music, I don't know how the machine would know how much to follow, how much it could read of that and interpret that by following the conductor, because everyone knows who's ever been behind a conductor before and watched a conductor, you are following that person. So when their hand comes down, that's beat one. And if they go like this and they slowly do a retardando and they go boom like that, is a machine going to be able to follow that? I don't think so. That's human, because you have to be able to interpret the music. That's what conductors do. They interpret it, and then they lead their huge orchestras as to, here's how the song goes. I want boom, pizzicato. Please play a pizzicato. And sure, a pizzicato is played a certain way on the cello or any stringed instrument. It has this really quick tick, 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 tick. That's what a pizzicato means. And legato means to hold the notes longer and longer. So I don't know how a machine will ever be able to read those, because it's a matter of interpretation. So it's
going to be very tough. Just like I said before, that's one African instrument that developers have tried to sample, to copy, to do whatever it is. They've not been able to do that. And this shows how this tells you the limit that AI can go. It's called the talking drums. In Ghana, they call it dondo. In Nigeria, I don't know, I think it's almost the same thing. It's a talking drum. They put it under your armpit, and then you just squeeze it in. And back in the day, historically speaking, that was used in communicating. So that was our Google. That was our radio. That was our telephone. Because between villages, they can just telling them something, and they could decode what was being said among villages. So this is where I'm saying they've tried so many times to emulate that, and they've not been successful, because it's a continuous thing. You're as a matter of fact, you're communicating with somebody. You're playing that, somebody is also responding back. My question is, how will they be able to communicate with each other, right?
Yeah.
There's a possibility they will be able to do it, but looking at it for over the past maybe say 20 years, 20 years, I'm talking in terms of 20 years or even more, it has not been done. So it tells you that at a certain point in time, AI would get to a point where it can no longer go beyond that. Right.
Yes, I agree with this when you look at it artistically. And that's what we're talking about here. However, there is one person, I guess he was one of the inventors of AI or something. He says, we have to be very careful because if we don't have control over AI, it is going to start to control us. Now, that's a whole different story, and that means as a human race,
dangerous.
Yes, exactly, very dangerous. But I don't want to get into that so much. But for in terms of it, an instrument or any kind of interpretation of a song, I just can't see that happening yet. That I mean, I've heard drum machines playing, and I'll consider those a small sort of version of AI, though they're not. I hear drum machines. I played with drum machines on stage, folks, and trust me, they are the most boring thing to play. When I play with a drum machine, I can't. It gets so frustrating. I remember with a friend and he and I were doing a duet before we found a drummer, and it was like a drum machine, and that thing was just too perfect. It had no fills, it had nothing. It just sort of went boom, smack, and I would hit this foot pedal to stop it and start it. Did that do anything for me? Nothing. I'd rather have not had it and us to, speed up, slow down, and get into some kind of groove that a machine like that won't ever have. And I don't see where AI is going to ever take over music. Sorry, folks. I just think that you really have to, I would say, learn. This is my interpretation. Learn how to play instruments. And I will say with drum machines, I was programming, doing some drumming today. I was programming it in. I was getting things going. And I know there was one thing I heard. I heard this rim shot happening after a snare. And I just knew that the drummer could play 16th notes with the snare happening. You go 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3. But as soon as that rim shot happened, which is the smacking of the top of the snare, I knew that he wasn't going to be able to go smack because it's impossible. So I had to change the hi-hat part to make sure that it went in time with what the drummer could logistically do. And the only way you get that experience is by playing with really good drummers.
Yes, folks, we are in conversation here today. We were expecting our special guest, Ezekiel Gosan Turbe, Mollinga Promotions, based in Nigeria. And the word that we got was that where he was, they were experiencing some power outages, and that has affected it. We are going to bring him back because you know what? He's been here before, and we are going to get him back. No matter what it takes, we are going to get him back. And in terms of I would like to say a special shout out to Shasha Mali. Yes, Shasha Mali is watching. We know Shasha Mali is right there. You are watching. Shasha, come back again. You know what? Yes, folks. Yes, next week we are going to have Leonard Novati. And those of you artists out there, big and small, check them out. Afrocharts.com. Afrocharts.com. Just check it out.
It's an app.
It's an app.
And you can get it on your computer as well.
Yeah, Ron, you've used it. We would like to, educate and bring a lot of artists who may not have heard about Afrocharts. They should go out there and then check them out. So you can give them a brief synopsis about what you've experienced, because Leonard Novati, who's the CEO of this huge company, is a friend of Love the Afrobeat Music Talk Radio. He's been here about 3 times. So we are going to get him tomorrow. I mean, next week. Did I say tomorrow? I'm just I just want him to be on the show, right? We are going to get him next week, Saturday. So make it a point. If you're an artist out there, you want your music to go out there, bingo, because the dividends that Afrocharts pays to artists for streaming is better, far better than the big boys. Trust me.
Yes.
Ron?
Yeah, it does. Yeah, it does. They pay better than Spotify, which is good. Kudos to them. The only thing you'll notice, unless you subscribe to it, like you would have to do with any other music platform, whether it's Apple or Spotify or wherever you're going, they always want you to get a subscription. He does too, which is understandable. Otherwise, you get ads, and that's just fine. It's whatever way you prefer. But no matter what, you'll be able to listen to music. They have playlists, and you can just go from song to song to song to song. Just put it onto your phone, and you can listen to it. The only thing is, I don't think if you're out of cell range, you would be able to hear it. So it's not like, for instance, Spotify, where if you have a membership of a certain amount, a certain kind, you can go and you can download the songs you want and play them anywhere if you're out in the middle of nowhere or something, you don't have internet service. But AfroCharts, you really do have to have the internet to work. But nowadays, that's not a big problem. That's pretty simple stuff. And for anybody, it seems like every Afrobeat artist I talk to has never heard of AfroCharts, and I'm just going, what? Are you kidding? You don't have songs on that? I know you had a guest a few weeks ago who we were talking to, and she had never even heard of AfroCharts. And I thought, okay, well, why don't you get your songs on there? It's all free. They don't charge to put the songs on. So get out there and do it.
We've had artists, anytime or each time Leonard had been here, we've had artists who have gone to check him out, and they always came back. They were satisfied with the service and stuff like that, and then he understands it because of his background. He is going to tell us his background. His background is it's a story that has got to be made into music. But notwithstanding that fact, folks, we would like to apologize to you for the inconvenience that we may have caused. It wasn't intentional in terms of our guests. Things happen, power outages, internet blockages, and all those kind of stuff. There are some things that you can, overcome. Some things that you cannot prevent. Some things are preventable, others are not. So Ezekiel will be back. We'll get him back for sure.
Yeah.
Because he's been here before. We started the station with him, if I would put it that way. He came as a guest, and he's been supporting the station. And he's a good artist manager. He's based in Nigeria, and the company is World Link Promotions. World Link Promotions, and the CEO is Gosan Turbe. That's Ezekiel. I chose his. I like his middle name. I chose his middle, Gosan Turbe, and we are glad that he accepted it. But it's not his fault. Having said that, folks, join us 24/7 on Love Afrobeat Music Talk Radio, your #1 African Caribbean online radio. We focus on Africa, the Caribbean, and the diaspora. Our music, our history, our geography, our traditions, our culture. Yeah, folks. But basically, we are here every Saturday to talk about music, personalities, and also people who are behind the scenes that make the music go viral or a bust. But we always want every music to go, viral. And on Love Afrobeat Talk Radio. If your music is clean, just send them out. infolovey@gmail.com. If it's clean, we'll make sure that we give you the voice. Because there are a lot of artists out there who need a voice, but they are voiceless. They don't have anywhere else to put their music out there on radio so that other people around the globe will be able to listen to them. As we are chit-chatting right here, we have so many countries listening to us. Those who appreciate Afrobeat music or music, African music in general, or what have you. And so many countries are listening to us. Russia, we see you. Ukraine, we see you. Philippines, we see you. Korea, we see you. China, we see you. So many countries out there, they are listening to this program. Join us every Saturday at 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And let's close up with our final words, and then we'll wrap it up and then join with you next week. Ron, any final words on this program? Because you know what? Before you go on, we are not short of any topic on this program.
Yeah, it's too bad with Ezekiel. I know it happens. I know that like everybody, probably if you're anywhere in the world, you've noticed you've had a power outage of some sort. So it sounds like they've had some kind of power outage of some sort. These things happen, and it's just the way it goes. And as you say, TyB, we'll get him on another time, and that'd be great to have him here and talk to him, because people like me like to get to know people like this, to see what's behind the scenes. I think that's the coolest thing about this guest. We'll be seeing what goes on behind the scenes. We only see what happens up front with the singers, but what actually goes on elsewhere. And next week, I look forward to seeing Leonard. Last time I remember him being on the show, he was in a car, doing the talk right from his phone in his car. So it was great, and I kept asking questions, and he and I connected really well. I got his WhatsApp number. He's been great. I can't say enough about him. I've said this already. He's a super guy, and I look forward to having him here next week, because he has a story. It's very impressive, and so it'd be good to talk to Leonard again.
Yes. It's going to be great with Leonard Novati. Join us again next Saturday, where the CEO, chairman, founder of AfroCharts.com. Check him out, AfroCharts.com. If you are a burden artist out there, a music enthusiast, just check him out. And Leonard is going to come and give us what has made him tick and what has made him grow to that level. His upbringing is a story for a movie set. Oh, yes, his upbringing, and from where he came, growing up out of a refugee camp, and to work hard to where he is, folks. It's a story. It's a story. It's a story. It's a story. So you know what? Join us. Tell your friends and tell your friends and tell your friends, and let them know that Leonard Novati is going to be on tap on Highway 6 to Africa. My name is DJ TyB. It's been a pleasure being with you. For you to have shared your space with us, with myself, Ron, and PETRAA. PETRAA is not with us today. She'll be joining us next week. So until then, take care of yourselves and each other. And remember, Highway 6 to Africa lives.
Take care.
Bye-bye.
Take care, everyone. Bye-bye.